All righty, here we go. It's a brand new Flyers Daily for the 27th of February, 2025. Flyers Daily, as usual, brought to you by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Flyers back at it tonight. The second half of a home-and-home with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Flyers in two of their last three games have played the Penguins. It's becoming a very familiar opponent. They're always familiar for obvious reasons. But the Flyers back before the Four Nations break got a 3-2 win over the Penguins. Had the Edmonton game on Saturday night where they won 6-3. And then beat the Pittsburgh Penguins at Wells Fargo Center on Tuesday by a score of 6-1. Flyers have found some high-octane offense in their two last games, averaging 6 goals a game. Love to keep that going. And when you got an opponent like Pittsburgh, that is very possible because they're one of the worst defending teams and one of the worst teams at keeping the puck out of their net this entire season. So it's not a trend for the Pens, not a lately trend. It's been happening all year for them. Not that the Flyers have done a great job keeping the puck out of their net. They haven't, although they've gotten really good play out of Sam Ersson, who's 11-4-1 in his last 16 games since December 28th. And a big part of why the Flyers matched a season-high 3-game win streak. The last time they won 3 prior was back January 16th, 18th, and 21st when they beat the New York Islanders on the road, the Devils on the road, and came back home and got a 2-1 overtime win against Detroit. Flyers haven't put together many of these chunks where they won 3 straight, did it back on November 27th through the 30th, 3-2 overtime win over Nashville, a 3-1 win over the Rangers, and a 3-2 overtime win over the Blues. Also did it against San Jose, Ottawa, and Buffalo back in November. And other than that, they haven't gotten to 4. So we'll see if they can get to 4 straight wins coming up tonight in Pittsburgh. I think it's always really difficult, no matter what the situation is, how good, how bad one team or another team is, to beat a team in both games of a home and home. Penguins have not been playing good. To me, in the game on Tuesday, as a team, a collective, they looked checked out, and some individual players looked really checked out in the game to me, most notably Chris Letang, who I thought I have a lot of respect for. He's a really good player, has been a really good player throughout his career. He was doing things that I was stunned to see out of him and a Mike Sullivan coach team. So I'm not going to get into all the details of these two teams and how it matches up. We did that the other day when we previewed the game on Tuesday. It's essentially the same thing, just one team's got one more loss, the Penguins, and one team's got one more win, and that's the Flyers. And because the Flyers won that game, they actually jumped up a spot in the standings over the New York Islanders with 59 points now, the Flyers through 59 games. Talk about Hockey 500, 26, 26, and 7 on the season. The Isles are 2 points back, but do have 2 games in hand. They've only played 57. The Flyers have played 59. Pens have played 60 games and have 55 points, and they're sitting in the bottom spot of the Metropolitan Division. You know, the crazy thing is I didn't think the Pens would be good this year. I thought that they were a team that's going to suffer. I didn't think they'd be the worst team in the division, and we'll see if it plays out that way. But a team that I thought would be right there with them, kind of in that descent back down the standings, was the Washington Capitals. Boy, was I and just about everybody else wrong about the Caps. They have the best points percentage in the NHL. They've got 84 points right now. They're 10 up on the top team in the Atlantic Division for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. 10 points up through 58 games. They've got 84. The Toronto Maple Leafs have 74. It's astounding what has happened in DC this year. 38 wins, 12 losses, 8 OTL, 84 points. Plus 63 in goal differential. What? Only one team higher than them. That's the Winnipeg Jets. It's been an amazing season for Washington. And now Ovechkin, I mean, it's not a question anymore if he's going to get the record. He's going to get the record. The question is, he's going to get the record this season. Very well could. He's been an absolute animal. I looked the other day. He had 29 goals in 41 games. The dude's 39 years old. Absolutely bananas. That's crazy. And the moves they made in the offseason didn't look super splashy. Pierre-Luc, got some pieces. Chychrun's been just a huge piece for them. But it's slotted everything into the right spot for the Washington Capitals. We'll see if Ovi can make another run towards the Cup coming up this offseason. It's crazy to think that he's 39 and the salt and pepper hair and still just scoring like an absolute lunatic. Unbelievable what the Caps have done this year. Shocking, to say the least. Now, the Flyers, kind of where they finished last year in the 6th spot in the division on the year right now, and we'll see how the season finishes. And one of the debates I saw yesterday on social media is, the Flyers have had, and we've talked about this, I talked about it yesterday, the way to measure progress for the Flyers and the rebuild this season, even though their record is not better than it was last year at this time. And really, obviously, they slipped coming down the stretch last year, and that was what did them in, losing after the gauntlet to teams that you would deem as inferior. They finished the year last year at 38, 33, and 11 and 87 points. Now, they may finish with less points this year, again, pending how these final, 23, 24 games go. And I saw some debate about this. Talking about John Tortorella, my buddy Raider Frank put it out that, Torts can't develop young players, but you see guys like Cates, you see guys like Bobby Brink. Boy, has he improved and developed. Tyson Forster, Jamie Drysdale, I think, is taking a step forward. I think Sam Erson's taking a step forward, and other young players. And some people pushed back and said, well, if guys are developing and taking the next steps in their career, why is their record worse than it was last year? And to me, that answer is really glaringly obvious. The Flyers, on the way to that 87 points last year, really did a lot of their damage up until that Colorado game in January. Now, what was that Colorado game? I'll go back and actually look at the specific game to give you the exact date and tell you what the record was before it, because it was a huge day in Flyers history, if you will. And you go, well, why was it such a big day? And, what was the big deal about that Colorado game as I sit here and try and look for it? It was the last game that Carter Hart played as a member of the Philadelphia Flyers. And the reason why that is big is because that obviously threw the goaltending into flux. It was a 5-2 win for the Flyers it was in January. I think it was a loss. Yeah, here it is. It was on the 20th of January. The Flyers lost to the Colorado Avalanche. And it was the last time Carter Hart played in the game. They lost 7-4 in that game against Colorado. And they were a team that was very good up until that point. They got off to a sluggish start, but then really hit a stride in November in particular, and through December, very good. Really good in January, had a 5-game win streak in there, then had a little bit of a slip, had a 4-game skid, and 1-4. But that game against Colorado really teed them up. And then they had to overuse Sam Ersson because you couldn't use Felix Sandstrom. You couldn't go to Cal Peterson. Fedorov didn't come until very late in March. So you didn't have any options, and that really torpedoed their season. And this year, Sam Ersson started off the year, got hurt a couple of times, couldn't get his game and his legs under him and develop a rhythm because he just was in and out of the lineup. Once he got back in and was able to stay healthy, now we see the stretch of 11-4-1 in his last 16 games and a .917 save percentage, top 5 in the NHL. So you see the difference there. When the Flyers had that break on the 20th, they'd played 46 games. They were 25-15-6. They were a really good team at that point. And then when that whole situation in goal changed, that's what sunk the rest of their season. And it's also been an issue this season. Beginning of the year, Fedorov wasn't making saves. Kolosov's been back and forth. Fedorov's been better of late, although he hasn't played a whole heck of a lot. But that's why the overall result, doesn't show the progress that I think the team has made this year. And again, going back to that list of players, guys, young guys, part of maybe a young core developing, guys that have really stepped up their game. Owen Tippett, he's got 17 goals, 24 assists, 41 points. I'd still like to see more and more consistency, but I think he's taken a little step. I think Tyson Forster's taken a step. He's got 16 goals. Brink, even though he's got 8 goals and 19 assists, I think he's played way better than his numbers. Way better than his overall numbers. Cates, 12 goals, 13 assists, 2 goals the other night. He didn't start the year on the team. He was healthy scratched while Jetlachenko was still here. I think we know Noah Cates is an absolute NHL player now. Where does he fit in on a really good team? We'll see. He's taken a huge step forward this year. Absolutely has taken a step forward. We mentioned, a guy like Jamie Drysdale, although not putting up a lot of points, never going to be an all-world defender, I think is really starting to come into his own. Talked to John Tortorella yesterday for Hockey and Hounds, and you can check it out on all the YouTube feed or all the podcast feeds and on YouTube, on the Flyers YouTube channel, maybe where you're watching this, and talking about Jamie Drysdale. it doesn't look like he's thinking. He's playing the game free of thought and just reacting. And I think he's been really good of late. So guys have taken steps forward. And ultimately, sometimes the record and the progress of result lags behind the actual progress of a team. Sometimes it's like a restaurant. They improve their food, but they don't get more sales right away. The sales eventually catch up to the improved food. Pardon the pun with ketchup. That's a really strange analogy I just made, but I think it's true. I think a team improves and eventually the record comes as a result. And I don't think the Flyers will have an improved record over last year when it's all said and done. We'll see what happens in these final games, and they're off to a great start since Four Nations. But I think there has been definitive progress, not only on the ice with those young players. I think there's been definitive progress organizationally to go to the next step of this rebuild. Part of that was trading Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee. I said at the beginning of the season, it's either time to commit to Morgan Frost or trade him, because we can't keep going back and forth. We can't keep this taking him in and out of the lineup. He's not performing. It's either commit to it or don't. And they decided not to. And that was their decision. And that's going to free up some cap space. Joel Farabee was another guy that I was not looking to trade Joel Farabee because he played a position that was not a position of overall organizational strength. He's a left winger. Flyers have a ton of right wingers. They don't have a lot of left wingers. And I think there's risk in trading Farabee. We'll see in a couple of years. Does he become a Patrick Sharp or a guy like Justin Williams who really flourishes and regains his touch? Because he was on a great trajectory before, but maybe the change of scenery is what he needs. But I think the organization took a huge step forward in that subtraction because now they have some money to play with. Now they have more data and made more commitments either to go in a certain direction with players or not go in a direction with certain players. That decision is a progressive step forward. So eventually I think the record will come up to the improvement. Maybe not this season, but I think there has been significant improvement. And I think organizationally, in the big picture, despite when it's all said and done and you're through a rebuild and you have what you have, it's going to come down to what you do in games, whether you win or lose, what you do in the playoffs and how you execute. That's sports. That's the name of the game, damn it. And that's end of story. But when you're going through this process of a rebuild, it's hard sometimes to just use that as the only metric to determine progress. That's my opinion on it. What say you? If you're watching on YouTube, by the way, give a nice smash to the like button there, and that'll help other people find this podcast. Before we get to Bob McCormack from the Tri-State Local Toyota Dealers Association from the Flyers Carnival, I want to get to a couple of emails. First one comes from Emmanuel. He says, Jason, great to see you back on the podcast, doing what you do best. Looking sounds like you have some renewed energy back after what I can imagine was some challenging days post-treatments. Keep fighting. I really appreciate that. I have a treatment. When you guys see this, it'll be today. I'm taping this, obviously, on Wednesday night. And I have a treatment today. And I will tell you that yesterday, and I don't want to go again today. I will tell you that yesterday, the day before treatment is a very difficult day because I know that as a result of that treatment, that it's going to make me feel like crap for anywhere from 4 to 9 days. And I'll be in bed. And I probably won't be doing the podcast tomorrow because I have treatment this morning. So it's an incredibly stressful, anxiety-filled day. It's dreadful knowing that I'm going into that coming up today. But I also know that it's working and the treatments are working and the tumor has shrunk and that it's another step to getting back to full power. So thank you for the note, Emmanuel. He also said, I loved your Mondays with Meltzer episode this week, your discussion on the Carnival and Four Nations. He said, I desperately need to bring my wife and kids down to 1 year to the Carnival and celebrate the Flyers and help support the charities. It will be worth the drive from Toronto. It's a bucket list thing for sure. You got to come down for the Carnival. It's a great, great thing. He also talked about size when it comes to teams. And obviously, Rasmus Ristolainen, his name is out there. He's got size. John Tortorella talked about it yesterday when asked about Ristolainen. The moment you trade a big, strong, right shot defenseman and you look at your roster, you start to say to yourself, Well, we need to find a big, strong right shot defenseman that you start immediately looking for it. And look, if you get a team is willing to go to a place that is going to help you long term and moving Rasmus Ristolainen, you have to consider it. Maybe you have to do it, but you will be looking to replace it. The thing I'm so torn with the Ristolainen conundrum is that he's just improved so much in the last 2.5 years, and I like guys that play the way he does when they're under control. And I do believe that you need some size back there, especially when you do become a playoff team. I think there's a cumulative effect to being outsized and out-muscled in 7-game series. And losing Ristolainen takes a step back in that regard. But and I still think they need more even with Ristolainen. Size overall. And I don't mean just on the defense. I mean up front too. I think they're incredibly small up front, and you need to be a little bigger and a little stronger. But I do think it's important. We'll see what happens come deadline coming up next Friday. But I am a believer that size does have a cumulative impact on result in 7-game series. One more email comes from Craig Keller. He says, "Hey Jason, great seeing you back on the air this week. Flyers Carnival must be an awesome event. Love to see Torts and the Hounds. Be excellent for you to attend next year. I know you'll do it. Might need to make the 10-hour drive to support and score on you in goal. Keep fighting." And another guy hit me on Twitter and say that since I'm announced that I'm going to come back for the Carnival next year and suit up and get the pads on, he's going to come down. He's going 5-hole on me. I can't wait. I didn't realize how much I missed being on the ice and playing. Now, the first year I stopped playing in beer league, it was right after I turned 50. And I just thought my hips, my knees, my back have had enough. And I was still coaching, so I was on the ice multiple times a week coaching my son's teams. And so it was still good to be back on the ice and be in the rink. Since then, I don't coach anymore. I haven't been on the ice in a very long time. And having this health issue, what I'm dealing with, has made me reflect on a lot of things, emotionally so. And I miss the smell of the rink, walking from out of the locker room area and into the arena part when nobody else is in there, and just seeing a freshly cut sheet of ice and not a sound in there, not another person. You hear the hum of the transducers and the equipment that keeps the ice cold. Just that constant hum, and the smell and the feel and the look of the ice. I can't believe that I decided not to play a couple years ago now. And I want to get back out there so bad. Damn it, I love this game. Everything about it. And I will get back out there. And I will be at the Carnival. And Craig, make that 10-hour drive. Take a shot. Not going to give it to you, but take a shot. So I'm looking forward to it. And again, I'll be in treatment today. I highly doubt I'll do the podcast tomorrow. Brian Smith probably do it tonight. Post Flyers, Penguins. And we'll see if I'm well enough to be back Monday with Bill. Otherwise, Brian will fill in. And I know you guys understand. And it's hard for me to tap out when I have to, but I got to listen to my body. And got to do the best I can. So I appreciate the support. Let's get to our conversation right now with the Tri-State Toyota Dealers Association and Bob McCormack. This is from the Carnival. Toyota's been involved in the Carnival for many years. And they do great work with PAL and all different charities in Philadelphia. And we thank Bob. We thank the Toyota Dealer Association for their support year in, year out, without question. So here's my conversation with Bob McCormack. Okay. Special edition of Flyers Daily as the Flyers Carnival took place just this past weekend. Great carnival, 46th annual. And for many of those years, the local Tri-State Toyota Dealers Association has been involved. And joining us in this episode of Flyers Daily is the Secretary of the Tri-State Toyota Dealers Association, Bob McCormack. Bob, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. It's great to be here. A fabulous day. Always just a terrific event. And frankly, we couldn't be more thrilled to be part of it.
I see you at carnival after carnival, year after year. You guys have committed to this carnival. You've committed to this local community. What goes into that decision-making for you guys as a dealer association?
Well, first of all, we think the Flyers are a first-class organization, number one. the charity is second to none from a standpoint of raising money. When you talk about 46 years, $33 million raised, that's really it's just something to raise your hand about. The other thing is we have other great partners that we are engaged with as well. But from a standpoint of it could be PAL, it could be Ronald McDonald House, but we really believe that being part of the community and we're able to reach back to all the great Flyers fans as a result of being involved. And today we get a chance to put our best foot forward. We're going to sponsor the carousel on the showroom floor, and then also the Ferris wheel as well. So that's complimentary to any of the attendees that are here today. So, we want to say thanks and we want to give back a little bit. So and frankly, we just couldn't be more thrilled to be part of it.
And you have two great brands as well, the Toyota brand and the Toyota Pennsylvania Tri-State Dealer Association brand, and that brand of one of the four major sports teams and an NHL team in the Philadelphia Flyers. A classy organization, classy brands coming together to do good things is what I like to say.
Well, and we agree with that statement, and which is really one of the reasons that we're partnered with the Flyers. And frankly, when you get with an organization that's been around like them, their players are really great ambassadors to role models for kids to look up to. And frankly, they just do it right. I don't know any other way to say it. They really do a great job.
You guys have that integration with the local market. Their integration is there as well. Is it that commitment that they bring to the local, the people of our area, the Delaware Valley, and because you guys share that commitment, and with the Toyota Dealers Association? Is it that shared kind of mentality that brings these two brands together year after year after year?
Well, I think that's part of it, but I think the other side of it is that, look, the Flyers are a great organization, and obviously the fans love them, and kids and grandkids have been following them for years. I'm going back to when I walked up here, I saw, Barry Ashby's picture. I know that this whole thing started some time ago obviously with when he was around, and that was 1977. From a standpoint of everything that's been done, it just is a great partnership that we have had with the Flyers, and we believe in the mission of the carnival, and we think that and we believe in the Flyers as an organization.
The interesting thing is over those years, 46 carnivals, and that's obviously a long time. You got to evolve, like a car brand evolves, right? You're not driving the 82 Camry anymore. The car's got to evolve. The carnival has evolved as well over those years, and you guys have been a part of that.
Well, it's really the ability for the carnival to evolve. Obviously, they get they raise more money each year, which is really kind of the name of the game. Obviously, they get more fans that participate in it, and it just is a great day for the Delaware Valley, for all the fans to be able to be part of such a wonderful event, and to be, the Flyers, the whole Flyers organization is here today. So whether it's from the general manager to the coach to the assistant coaches, the players themselves, everybody's here and everybody's out to say hello. We're glad you're here, and what better day would that be for Toyota to be able to be partnered with, and for the fans in the Delaware Valley to get exposed to?
Yeah, I think that's that touch point for fans. You remember, Bob, growing up, and you had these athletes that they weren't just athletes; they were superheroes.
Absolutely,
they were fictional characters in our child's eyes, right?
Yep.
And to be able to have that rub elbow moments with the guys that you watch performing at an incredible physical feats of athleticism on TV, and you're there rubbing your elbows with them, and you come to find out they're just normal dudes.
Well,
the do a good thing.
The other side is the part of today will be the autograph and the picture, the sign and snap. So who doesn't want to get their autograph with one of their favorite players? And plus, who doesn't want to get their picture with them? And that's part of, sometimes in other sports, that's not possible.
No.
But today, that is possible. And that's the other thing. They're approachable. They're regular people, and they'll answer any question you have. So a day like today is really special for fans and for obviously grandparents and parents who bring their kids and their grandkids to an event like this.
salt of the earth. It's the only reason I'm still involved in this whole racket is because the players and the culture of it are real people.
Yep.
That's why you're a real person, and you guys do a really good job with the Toyota Dealers Association in the tri-state area. Bob, thanks for doing this. We really appreciate it. Enjoy the carnival. I'll see you next year. I'll be back next year.
Okay.
Kind of battling it right now, but
we
we'll
will
do.
as well, for sure.
No doubt. Thanks, Bob.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks to Bob McCormack for taking the time with us on Carnival Day. And thanks again for their continued contributions to our community and the Flyers Carnival. It is greatly appreciated. All right, Flyers Penguins tonight. Can the Flyers sweep the home and home? We'll find out tonight. Everybody enjoy the hockey. I'll talk to you as soon as I can get back right here on a brand new Flyers Daily.